There is an entire pickup artist industry out there we all know about that is specifically geared toward having tight text game. That's really important if you're on Tinder, where you're just looking for a hookup and you need to know how to push all her buttons fast because that's what matters. Understand that most of us are in the sugar industry, the sugar world, because we want to avoid all that. I don't want to become a pickup artist. I want to be me, and I want to be a good guy who's not just out looking to score. And sugar provides me that in.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad and the shocking stories of sugar dating. There's no Lily in the house today. She is in fabulous Nashville, Tennessee with her sugar daddy. They're up there for a week, and I talked to her yesterday. Amazing. I need to go back. It's been like 20 years since I've been there. I hear it's like the Las Vegas of the East now. I mean, we're going to get a report on her on how that trip went. But first, before we get into our guest, I've got a return guest today, and he is absolutely one of our favorite guests of all time. But we got to do some business. If you guys, you girls and guys, but if you girls want to come to see Shakira in a private suite and party with the crew of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, applications are now open. Just go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com, press on the party tab. And just like before, it's a little survey-style application. You'll submit a couple photos and a video, and then we'll let you know. We are giving away at least 10 sugar baby packages. And just like before, it includes a lot of the same stuff. 3 days, 2 nights of accommodations here in sunny, perfect weather, Scottsdale, Arizona, November 6th through the 8th. It will have a mixer again, which is always a highlight of the party week. The next day, we're going to have a pre-party at my house where we'll gather, have food and drinks, get ready for the party bus that will come pick us up, take us down to Footprint Arena, where we have a private suite where you're going to get to see Shakira, who hasn't toured in a long time, and she puts on a really nice show, and she's fun to look at. Let's just put it that way. And it'll include food and drinks, and then the party bus will take us back to my house, and then we'll see where the night goes. The next day, we'll have a brunch, and then that'll be on Friday, and then everybody can either head on back to where you're from, or if you want to stay the weekend in Arizona, I mean, there is no better time than November in Arizona. It is perfect weather. It'll probably be 75 to 85 degrees, dry. Watch it rain all week, but normally it is absolute paradise. So we're hoping for good weather as usual. Now, if you want to be in the priority status when we do judging, join our Patreon. Patreon members get priority status on invitations to the party. The great thing is to become a member of our Patreon, it's free. Absolutely free, and there is a lot of free content on there. So go to patreon.com/Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. Join there if you haven't already. Now, we do have some tiers that open up the entire site where you get the community chat. You get to hear all the episodes and extra sugars before anyone else. You get to see behind-the-scenes photos and videos that nobody else gets to see. And we have some coaching and profile review options. Starts at $10 a month. Very, very cheap. We make it as cheap as we can. You get all of that in the very first tier. And then, like I said, we have some upper tiers. Now, I mean, if you're a baller and you don't need profile review and coaching and you just want to support us at an upper tier, much appreciated. Matter of fact, if you're a sugar baby and you're in an upper tier, I can almost guarantee you will get priority judging over the people in the lower tiers. So, there's a hierarchy on how we judge, But absolutely, at the very minimum, we want you to become a free member. Cost you nothing, and you'll enjoy it. So come party with us November 6th through the 8th. And then also, too, I just want to let you guys know, we are working on some really, really exciting things. I've got some big announcements coming soon, but let's just say we are looking to expand the show. And we've been chatting with production crew here at our studio, our podcast studio, and they are committed to helping us grow this thing big time. And we have got some really exciting plans. We are going to hold some interviews for some hosts of our spinoff concept. So I will get you more details on that soon. Look for it on Patreon before we announce it anywhere else, and then we'll probably throw it on Instagram and then announce it here on the podcast. But look for very, very exciting things soon. All right, now let's get to our guest. Very, very excited to have in the studio. You guys always love this guy because the numbers tell us he always has the most downloads of any episodes we do. Even better, I'm sorry, than Amanda from the Dichotomy Diary. She came in second to you, Sugar Daddy Dwayne.
I am so flattered.
Welcome back to the studio. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you.
Yeah, you're looking good. You're headed to Las Vegas.
Heading to Las Vegas, get some trip time up there with a bunch of friends to play some games and gamble a little and relax a little. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So, you brought a notebook full of notes, and I'm glad you came prepared because you always have really fun things to talk about. What's been going on with you lately?
Well, when we last checked in with Sugar Daddy Dwayne, he was exploring a relationship with a young lady that we called Autumn, for sake of being specific but not identifiable. And I had told you that she had used the word exclusivity with me at that time.
This has been a few months ago.
That's a few months ago, and I was pretty happy about that.
Okay.
I'm kind of setting you up by using the past tense there. We are
I get it.
Still spending some time together.
Okay.
There was a little bit of misunderstanding as to what exclusivity meant when on one particular date she came by and announced that she didn't have very much time because her boyfriend might catch her. And he's waiting for her at home with plans of something or other. And I went,
what?
Hang on. What exactly does exclusive mean if your she's had a long-term boyfriend since high school, living together with him. All of this is fine with me, by the way. It's just, it's not what I thought it was.
Right. Do you think he knew about it?
No.
So she was doing it behind his back.
Right. She's very clear that he does not know that she sugars. So in her case, because we had a little discreet conversation about it, and exclusive means I'm the only sugar daddy she is spending any time with.
I mean,
that's okay.
Okay, I mean,
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
It's not what I thought we meant right after I was last here, but it was still she's a good girl and enjoying lots of that time together. So
okay, are you still with her?
I'm still with her.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking for a live-in girlfriend.
Yeah, you had that.
Tried that. You remember that as well. So, I'm okay with that. I just want clarity on when we say things, we need to mean them to each other. And she does. She just, exclusive meant something in her mind that I thought it might have meant otherwise. But it's okay because I think like most of us, Marcus, and you can confirm whether this is true or not, there's kind of a range, a spectrum, a range of what we are happy with. And as long as we can find whatever relationship that is, whatever you're looking for in the sugar dating world, if you can find a relationship that fits within that range, we're happy. And I'm pretty confident most sugar babies are in the same way. There's a range. And so the magic is finding ranges that overlap. And when you can then live in that overlap, both of us are happy.
Yeah.
So in this case, that's where I'm at with her.
So remind the audience your situation. You are considered a sugar daddy, but you're not like the ultra wealthy sugar daddy. You have disposable income that you choose to use for dating.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That I want to help out the girl.
Because there's a lot of people that listen to our show and they're like, well, I'm in no position to be a sugar daddy. You know, I've got a net worth of negative $40,000, which was me at one time 20 years ago.
It was me as well, although
Right.
I wasn't trying to do any kind of sugar dating at that point in my financial career. Although I will say this, and this, I absolutely agree with you. I want an encouragement to go out there that says, if you are interested in this kind of a lifestyle, if you like making your girl feel comfortable and provided for, whether it's a little or a lot, in my experience, there certainly are the women out there who think they want a billionaire. They want their Christian Grey. They want someone who throws money away on everything, right? Just has so much money they don't know what to do with it. That's perfectly fine. But there aren't very many of those guys out there.
No, there's not. You know, Kimmy, who used to be my co-host, she's in California now, and she's been off and on with a billionaire. And one thing she always said was like, and she's dated multiple very, very wealthy people. And she's like, it's not like they give me 10 times as much. They give me the same thing that every other person gives me. You know, it's kind of the going.
Right. There's kind of a going rate. And I don't like to use words like that.
Right?
But let's be honest. That's what this is. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So if she's getting, let's say, 700, 800, or 1,000 per meet, it's not like they, just because they can afford it, they give her 10,000 per meet.
Right. You can find some on the internet who seem to think that that's the only way that this should be done. I think, well, good for you if you can find it, but I just don't think there's that much.
I've done some extra sugars on people hear exorbitant amounts that some sugar babies are getting and these luxurious vacations and gifting people cars and houses. But this is not happening for the majority. This is happening maybe for the top 0.5% of sugar babies. Now, I went on a meet and greet this weekend. This girl, I had plans Saturday, and the girl that I was supposed to see canceled on me. So I'm like, I don't really have any plans. Alejandra, my main sugar baby, she had already had plans for the night. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just go play poker at the casino. This girl messaged me, says, hey, like at 6 o'clock. She's like, hey, you want to have a drink tonight? I'm like, oh my God, perfect. And she was really pretty in her pictures. A little thin, actually a little thin.
In her pictures. All right, keep going.
I show up, so I go, well, what time are you thinking? She goes, anytime. I said, well, let's do 7:30. And I gave her barely over in an hour. And now she lived in Old Town Scottsdale. I show up right at 7:20, 7:25. So I'm sitting there waiting for her outside. She shows up right on time, gets out of an Uber. Absolutely drop dead gorgeous, better than her pictures. She'd actually put on some weight, believe it or not, and she looked better with the weight on.
Wow.
Because she'd lost too much weight, and she told me the story. She's like 5'8", and she got down to 125 pounds. And that was just too thin for somebody that tall. So she's put on a little bit of weight back on, and she looked absolutely fantastic. Then she goes and tells me a story. I'm like, okay, so we talk about the sugar dating. She was in a 3-year sugar relationship with a guy here in town who was married, who was giving her $50,000 per month.
How many men in the Phoenix area are capable of that?
I'm like, wait, I said,
a dozen?
50,000? She's like, yeah. And then I said, well, where do you live now? And she goes, well, he paid for a house. She lives in a house in Old Town Scottsdale, and that's high rent district.
Yeah.
So she said, well, he paid for my house for a year, and he also bought me a Range Rover. So we talk, and she talked about coming on the show. I was hoping to have her on this week, but couldn't get a hold of her. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I took her home, and sure enough, there's this cute little house with a Range Rover right in the driveway, just like she said. And she was at the top echelon of sugar babies. She was 23, I think. Yeah. Came from a really strange background. She was foster. She lost her dad in a fire. And then her mom is either on drugs or just crazy. So she grew up in a foster home. It's an unbelievable story. I want her to come on.
I guess, yeah.
And she even talked about maybe she would like to do something even further. But here I am hearing this story, and I'm like, I haven't talked to anybody getting $50,000 a month for
Not even
3 years.
New York City doesn't command that kind of
Yeah, I was like,
Wow.
I hope you saved your money because you're not going to find that again. I'm sorry.
high expectations are set. Yeah.
That's the thing about a sugar daddy. They can come and go at any time. Okay, you're making $50,000 a month. You know what happened? The wife found out.
Uh-oh.
That's one of the things that ended it. The wife found out. I don't know how he was hiding this payments to her. That's a lot of money.
$600,000 is a lot of money to move.
I mean, since she said he made well over $1 million a year, and I'm like, well, he's got to.
Well, yeah.
And he's giving half of it to you?
Well, the
That's
rule of
unbelievable.
thumb, in case anyone hasn't heard this before, I think I might have even said it here before, so maybe everyone knows. The general rule of thumb is that sugar daddies will provide their sugar baby about 10% of their income. Now, there's some discussion as to whether that's pre or post tax and all of that, but your rule of thumb is 10%. So if he's giving her $600,000, then according to that rule of thumb, he has to be netting. Let's assume it's 10% of post-tax income. He has to be making $6 million a year
Yeah, I don't
post-tax,
think he was making that much.
which means he has to be making 10 to 12 million a year total. You can count on, I'm pretty confident you can count on one hand, maybe two hands, the total number of people in Arizona who are capable of that.
Right. It's very, very hard to
Totally
find.
aside from whether they're in the sugarling lifestyle or anything else. Well, she struck gold.
Well, she struck gold for a while.
Well, yeah.
And I said, I hope you've saved that money for a rainy day because that income just stopped. But you know what she said? She goes, no, he'll continue to take care of me.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well,
All right.
even though you're not together anymore.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
She had told me this other. I wish she was here because these stories are crazy. Her first sugar daddy. So she was in Montana, and she met a guy. She was 20, so it was just 3 years ago. And a guy from San Francisco, an Asian guy, flew her out there. She stayed in his place. He wasn't even there. He was gone or something. She stayed in his place for a few days before he finally came. Then they private jetted to Hawaii, and then private jets all over Hawaiian Islands, private jet back. And she said, the only thing sexual that we did was he wanted me to use coconut oil and give him a hand job. Okay. That was it.
Okay.
She said that was his fetish.
Well, there you go.
I was like, wow.
I love it.
And he also gave her a lot of money too. So I remember how much she told me, but I was just, my jaw was dropping and I'm thinking, are you sure I have to believe her at this point?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think she was embellishing it at all. So anyway.
There definitely are stories out there. So I don't want to discourage you. If you're looking for that absolute whale, they're out there. But you have to understand, you're going to be looking long and hard, and you are going to be competing with the very top tier of sugar babies, as you just said.
I just don't know. I just hope women don't have that expectations. She found the pot of gold. And it's just, that is not normal. And even women that are getting $10,000 a month, that can go away in a second.
Right.
There's just no guarantee.
That's right. Well, and again, based on that rule of thumb, you need to understand you're looking for a man who makes $1.5 to $2 million a year in income on a paycheck. Usually you have to own a business to make anything like that kind of money. But you need to understand that's where that lives. And I am in the top, I think I just looked it up recently, I'm somewhere near the top 2% of income in the Gilbert area, which is among the highest in the Phoenix metro.
Which is a really nice suburb of Phoenix.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. We are listened to in Thailand and Malaysia. Yes.
We are number one in Kenya.
Excellent. Yes. I love it. But so I'm pretty high up there, and I fully recognize that I'm somewhere in the lower range of what sugar daddies are capable of.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you this, now that I've just tried to be encouraging, right? You don't have to be a millionaire to be a sugar daddy.
Right.
You just have to be generous with what you have. And I really want that to be the message. I feel like you and I know each other. I can share this and it won't come across as any kind of bragging at him because I know you're already there as well. the definition of a person's net worth is your total assets minus your total debts. My number just crossed 7 digits.
Oh, congratulations.
1 week ago,
Very good.
I am now officially a word that begins with mill and ends with millionaire, though that's a little odd because I'm barely over it. But that's
so
where I live.
is it a lot of it in your 401k?
Right. It is, house value and
house value.
retirement.
So I have a buddy.
So none of it's liquid. That's
I
the
know.
other
That's
none
the
of
thing.
it's liquid.
That's the thing. I have a buddy who is a federal agent here in town. His dad actually used to be the head of the Secret Service back in the Clinton days, but he's a federal agent here in town, and he just consistently puts money into his 401k, and he's been doing it I've known the guy for 20 years. He told me his net worth now, he has a house. He has his original house, and then when he got married, they bought another house in South Phoenix, and then he still has his original house as a rental. And then he ended up getting a divorce, but it was a prenup, so she didn't. He bought her out. He bought her out from the house that they bought together. That house is quadrupled in value, and his 401k that he's been putting money into. Looking at him going, and sometimes he gets a little stingy on like buying. Like he gets like, I don't know, we'll tell him, hey, we're going on this golf trip, and it's like, how much is it? And he's like, yeah, I got to check the finance. I'm like, dude, you are a multi-millionaire. Live your life. Spend a little money. But the thing is, most of his is in his net worth of his house and it's in his 401k.
Right.
Because when I talked to him years ago, he had like 600,000 in his 401k. Now it's like a couple million of his retirement money.
Right.
So
he's set.
And he's in his 40s.
Yeah, he's set well. In that case, he's really set well. But that's not liquid. You can't really access that money. That's not what it's for.
Right.
But it's it still kind of counts.
But it still counts towards your net worth.
It absolutely counts. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions that I often hear from sugar babies, whether it's just reading on the internet, which we always know is true because if it's printed on the internet, it must be true, or just talking to girls, they have this idea that, well, you must be rich. You've got money to just throw away. That's not true. Most of us, unless you just found your way into some wealth, you just dropped in. Most of us got there by being careful, by working hard and not wasting our money. That's how we got it.
Yeah.
So it's not often appropriate to say, well, you've got a lot of money, you can just throw it away. Well, no, we didn't get that money by throwing it away. We learned how to take very careful care of it. So, yeah.
Well, very good. So let's go over some of your notes here. We talked about some fun things that you'd written down here.
Yeah, I like to try to come prepared for you. And if the conversation goes there. So, I was just listening to, and I apologize, I don't have your numbers memorized, but I think your most recent episode, you had mentioned something about you and Lily were talking about female condoms.
Yes, and we're still talking about it.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's still very timely.
Because it's a topic where we encourage safe sex. But then, as Alejandra is dating other men, all the time they're pressuring her not to use a condom, right? And she's like, oh, absolutely. And they're, and they have the same problem with me. It cuts off circulation. It deadens the feeling. So we talked about female condoms, and I haven't tried one. You said you've tried one?
I've actually tried a couple. Yes.
And what is your analysis of it and feedback on it?
I will say, just in general, I'll give you the summary. The summary is they are, at least so far that I've figured out, they are more difficult to apply. It's harder to get them in place. However, once they are, you mostly can just kind of forget about it, which is exactly the idea. I suppose the advantage for me, the reason why I would prefer to be in a relationship where I can have unprotected sex is because of the flexibility, the freedom.
Yeah.
With a condom, you're either having intercourse or you are not having it. I mean, it is very binary. You are not anywhere near the area, and then you are absolutely in the area, and then you are away from the area again,
right.
Yeah. And the female condom gives you some of that spontaneousness where you can just kind of just be in the moments because it's not one and done used. So I have found that I tend to like it, but they're not very common. They're expensive. I think $3 or $4 a piece. Not that matters, and the hard part is generally getting them in place, and then they're a little bit better. So you might like them.
What are the girls' feedback on it?
So far, what I've heard is she says she can't even feel it.
Okay.
Now, some of that, and this has been years ago, so these days I don't get sexual with a girl I'm not feeling long term with, so it doesn't really come up anymore. However, some of it was, she was insisting upon using a condom, which is absolutely fine, always to be respected. I want to just say that out loud. So maybe there was a little bit of, how would I say this? She was making sure to justify her decision by saying, see, you can't even feel it. However, I think probably that actually was pretty accurate, is, she doesn't notice it there.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely worth trying. The other option, I suppose, if we wanted to just really get into it, you can tell me whether you want to or not. We can talk about other brands and other types. Of course, you can always buy either Magnum sized or something that isn't quite as tight. I have found that I like the Skin brand of non-latex condoms. They are thinner, they are stretchier, so much less likely to interfere. So if you haven't found those, that would be a recommendation. So I think it's worth trying a female condom. I should have brought one. If I had been clever, I would have just brought one. We could have had one.
Well, Amy, way back when Amy was a host, her and her sugar daddy used those, I believe. So I was familiar with it, but it's been a while, and I'd actually kind of forgotten about it. And as Alejandra and I are not exclusive, this subject comes up more and more of, she's like, did you use a condom? She'll come over to my house, right? And then she'll like, where's it at? I don't see it in the trash. She likes searching my trash to make sure that I would use protection. Wow. Anyway, it's pretty funny.
I like it. She's a careful girl.
Oh, yeah. All right. What else you got on your list here?
Well, so you have so much good content on the website and on the podcast. And by the way, congratulations. What are you at now? 180 something episodes?
Well, with the extra sugars, we're well over 200.
Well over 200.
Yeah, but the full interviews, we're getting close to 170 or somewhere. I don't know. It's getting close.
It's very high. Yeah. So you have lots of this information on there, but I don't know that I've ever heard just a concentrated, as a sugar baby, here are the things you should avoid if you want to avoid trouble with a good sugar daddy. There are red flags and things. And we've talked about those in various ways, but I don't know that you've ever quite put them all together.
Yeah, let's do it. I like it.
Yeah. So I have some things we can talk about. How not to look like a scammer.
On the women's side or men's side?
On the women's side, because I can't really speak to what women face. I've heard about it enough, but what I can speak to is what we face, the kinds of problems that we as sugar daddies face.
This is a really good subject because while I was waiting for you, I'm on my Seeking, and somebody messaged me, and they go, hi, what's your name, or how's your weekend? I go, hi, my name is Hunter, fake profile Hunter, because I read their profile, and it's 100% fake. I can tell it's brand new. It looks like Chat GPT, and it's the worst. It's like nobody talks like that. And I can tell, and all the pictures are very professional, and there's no woman that looks like that is going to reach out to me because her inbox is full, like if she's real.
Yeah.
And so, and you know what they say? They go, oh, hi, Hunter. Nice to meet you. How, and they don't even get it.
Wow. Sometimes I do appreciate a little bit of trolling. I do that from time to time. That's kind of funny.
I mean, I'm just bored. So I'm like, hi, my name is Hunter, fake profile Hunter.
That's awesome. Well, that's one of my categories, and that actually is one of my suggestions way down there is, when all of your pictures are a little too professional, it just tends to set off red flags.
Yeah.
We need to see, if you're a real girl, we need to see things that make you look like you're just an actual human and not only a glamour model. But yeah,
I was going to pull up. So she's out of San Francisco or something. She's Asian. There's no local pictures whatsoever. I'm looking for a mature gentleman so that we can build a long and stable relationship. I don't like casual relationships. If you're the one for me, we can continue to talk. I don't want a liar. Liars can ruin a lot of things. And then she says, what I'm seeking, whether in career or life, I believe that through continuous learning and hard work, I can realize my self-worth and life goals. Traveling is not only my hobby, but also an important way for me to broaden my horizons and find inspiration. Blah, blah, blah. She just goes on and it's just like,
wow.
Nobody talks like that.
Yeah.
Nobody fills out a profile like that. Oh, it's just ridiculous.
Thankfully, that one was easy to spot.
Here's another one. I'm a simple and easygoing, courageous, and I love being happy. I'm fun to be with. You should get to know me. I want someone who knows what they want, someone serious and not a time waster or game player. Actually, that one was better than most, but she's still fake.
That's not as bad.
It's not bad. Let me see. I've got a really... Oh, here's one. Yeah, and I'll show you the pictures too, just so you kind of get an idea.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously fake, right?
Yeah, all of them a model shot of some sort.
Like music, painting, and cooking. Love nature, being outdoors, and exploring new things. I attach great importance to interpersonal relationships and friendships and like to communicate with people from different backgrounds. Looking forward to meeting more interesting people here and sharing a good time together. Humor and optimism. A sense of humor and optimism can add fun to life, and women generally want to be with a fun, upbeat partner. Really? That's your profile? Come on.
That sounds kind of robotic.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. That's the shit I deal with. And they're reaching out to me. And I'm just looking at them going, how many fake profiles are on here? It's unbelievable.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
That leads me, actually, before I get into any of my list, I would like to hear from you. It's a landmine for the women. It absolutely has to be. And I've never been a woman. I don't know anything about it, but I can imagine that it must be hard to be a woman for a whole bunch of reasons. But in the sugar dating world, things are reversed, right? The men are the ones being chased, usually. We're the ones who are the rarity. So everything about that is different, and you've talked about that a number of times. I want to hear from you, if you're willing to. What kind of message would you want to receive from a potential sugar baby? Because almost all of them who reach out are fakes and scammers. How can she show that she's real to you? I have opinions too, but I'm just curious what yours.
You know what I absolutely get sick of? Hey. Hi. What you up to? That's it. They have nothing creative to say. Hey. Oh my God. You know what? And girls get really pissed off when you just request their private photos. They get really pissed off. They're like, you can't even say hi? Oh, hey. Now can I see your private photos? I mean, that's about the effort that they put into it. It's unbelievable. But when I go search a profile, it has to have some kind of a picture that shows local, like a local restaurant, give me palm trees in the background, or a desert, or a cactus, something local. So that's one clue. Yes, people are coming and going all the time, but I always look at the join date. And you got to start somewhere. So like Alejandra, I helped her with her profile. And I said, okay, your profile almost sounds fake. So put this in your headline or the very top of it. I love living in Arizona despite this heat, but we'll get through it. Bam.
Yeah.
Tells me right there she's not a fake profile, because no fake profile says anything local.
Right.
They don't say anything about
Arizona. Because
Arizona.
they cut and paste it to Memphis.
It just says nothing about
Minnesota. Yeah. Agreed.
So I told her, make sure you have little blurbs in there about something local. I'm here getting my blank degree or whatever, or I've, moved here 6 years ago from somewhere. Just give me something personal instead of this just generic bullshit like, I am looking for a long-term relationship with a partner who can trust me and acknowledge my worth and blah, blah, blah. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like it.
So that's what differentiates a profile where I will actually respond or I'll troll. Or just delete. Sometimes I don't feel like trolling.
Yeah, I long ago stopped even looking at people who favorite my profile on Seeking.
Those are, I would say, a high percentage of scammers, 90%.
At least.
That favorite.
Yeah, so that may be the first piece of advice. Don't favorite a man hoping he'll notice you and write you back. Nobody's real when they do that.
When I go on my Seeking, it'll say 37, it'll say, whatever. And when I look, all 37 are in the favorites side. And none of them actually even looked at my profile.
Right.
They just favor, they're just all these favorites from all over the world. Colombia, Venezuela, Italy, North Carolina, Hawaii. I mean, it's just everywhere.
I've blocked all of those. They don't even show up.
Really? Every now and then I'll see one in Phoenix, but then I look at it and it's a fake. Looking at who's favorited me, I don't even bother.
Right.
Like you. Now, I will look to see who's looked at mine, and maybe they didn't send me a message or something. I'll check out those profiles. And then if it has any worth at all where I want to get back to them, I don't have time now, but I want to eventually message them, I'll just favorite them. And so now they're in my favorites.
I do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a placeholder. I'm
As a
going to talk to her
exactly.
later, but
Yep.
I'm out and about. Yes.
And women, don't get upset with men. So here's one thing that happens to me all the time. So a woman will message me, and then I'll say just a little blurb back, and I'll request her photos because she doesn't have enough for me to even make a judgment on. I'm busy, right? But every now and then I'll just glance at my phone. I'll say, oh, she showed her photos to me. I'll look at them, and then I'm like, oh, great. I'll message her back when I get time. They get pissed off if you don't message them right when you look at them, and then they'll resend, they'll take away their private photos. And then when I go back to message them and I look at them, I'm like, wait, what did this girl look like? I don't even remember. They're gone.
Right.
The photos are gone.
Right.
They get so antsy about that, taking them away so quickly.
Uh-huh. Well, and that is something that we hear the other direction, just the same, is apparently some men tend to get really upset when a sugar baby doesn't answer back immediately to his messages. That's not what that medium is. That's what phone calls are for.
Well, Alejandra even, she admitted, she goes, I'm the worst texter. Somebody will text me and I don't even get back to them until the next day. But some men absolutely go fucking berserk.
They lose their shit.
Start blowing up their phone. How come you didn't text me back? Blah, 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 this and that. But she's in school, right? So she'll see maybe a message at 9 o'clock in the morning, but she doesn't get out of school till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. By that time, she's got 18 messages from this guy wondering why she hasn't responded.
That's not appropriate.
And she's like, well, I'm certainly not going to go out with you now.
Right.
You blew it.
Right.
I was considering it.
I definitely feel that sometimes, but I also recognize, okay, be reasonable. She gets to have a life too. My criteria for that is somewhere in the 20 to 24 hour range. There is no young woman on the face of the planet. In fact, I don't know if there's any person on the face of the planet left now who isn't on their phone multiple times an hour. So for me, if she can't get back to me within 6, 8 hours, 10, 12, by the time it hits about 24, I'm like, okay, that itself is the message. I got it.
Yeah. Sometimes no response is a response.
It is the message.
And you're right. And it's funny too, because I'll send somebody a message. I was supposed to meet somebody yesterday, and she had been very reactive, very responsive. And I was showing Alejandra the message. She was excited. She was asking me lots of questions. She even wanted me earlier than we had decided, a couple days earlier. And I said, no, I'm already busy. I'll see you Wednesday. And then I messaged her Wednesday morning. I'm like, hey, good morning. How are you? Because we're supposed to meet at 6 o'clock Wednesday night. I get no response for an hour, hour and a half. Now, I know she's in school. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just wait. And then I'm thinking, yeah, but she's usually more responsive than that. So I'm like, okay, I threw the ball over the net. She didn't return it. I usually just wait for them to return it. I'm going to throw it over one more time, and then that's it. Because I got to make plans, right? And it's getting down to crunch time. So an hour and a half later, I go, hey, are we still meeting tonight? 3 hours go by, no response. So I tell Alejandra, I was like, she was going out with some friends, and she was asking me if I could drive her to the restaurant because she was going to be drinking. I said, yeah, I guess so, because my date just ghosted me. She goes, what? That girl ghosted you? I can't believe it. She was so enthusiastic about meeting you, and she was excited, and she was telling friends about the podcast. I go, I know. I am as shocked as you are. I swear to you, 30 minutes after I told Alejandra that and I hung up the phone, she messaged me and goes, hey, so sorry. I was taking a test and class was very busy, but are we still on tonight? I'm like, oh, yeah, there you are. I didn't go blowing up her phone. I didn't start calling her bad names. She was busy. You could only throw the ball over the net, and then it's their turn to return it. If they don't, then move on.
Right. That either is the message or she'll fire it back eventually. Yeah.
But it would have done me no good to just keep firing message after
What's
message.
the point?
Yeah.
She's either not reading them or she's ignoring them anyway. It's not going to do you any
but
good.
the funny thing is, this is the point I was going to make. It's hard because then you go and you see them online. And you're like, wait a minute, she's online. She can't return my fucking message. Right. You know, that stuff goes on in your head.
It absolutely
but you
does.
got to ignore that, because I can't tell you how many times that Alejandra and I actually be laying there next to each other, and I go, hey, you're online. And she doesn't even have her phone in her hand.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, you're online right now. She's like, no, I'm not. I don't even have my phone on.
Wow.
So,
well, that's good to know, information to have. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a delay. I think
Okay.
seeking, if they were online earlier and then they click off their phone, I think they probably have like a 10 or 20 or 30 minute delay before they'll show that they're not online.
I would imagine that that's only reasonable.
I would if I had a website.
And the other thing, it could actually be just the app. When she receives a message, the app might show her as online because the app received it, even though she never touched her phone. I don't know if that's how it works. Yeah, certainly possible.
Okay.
Well, you've already hit on a number of the things that I've talked about, but maybe we ought to start kind of in order of how a sugar relationship would go, is how not to look like a fake in your profile. Maybe we should start there.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned one of them that I had just written down. Take a picture of some known location in your hometown, or put a message about your hometown.
Yep.
And I think it's safe to assume that the scammers probably don't listen to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy podcast. Let's hope they don't, because I'm about to tell them how to be really good. When you cut and paste from one city to another, just change the word at the top of that profile. You and I have both seen a number of profiles that claim to be here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
With obvious pictures in New York City.
Yeah.
Not helpful. And sometimes the text has even said, I love being a UCLA student, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, well, you're not here. Anyway, that's kind of fun. Yeah, that's a good one. We already talked a little bit about not having only glamour shots. We want to see some kind of a selfie picture or something that shows that you're actual real. This is a good way to not look fake. I often will skip over, take a good look, and then move right by overly revealing pictures, right? Bikini shot is okay, but most real girls are probably going to make that their private pictures that they can only give
You don't
out.
want to come across overly sexualized, like just slutty looking.
Right.
I had somebody reach out to me, and her pictures were all, in lingerie and this, and I'm thinking, this girl gets around. She just will jump in bed with anybody, as it feels like. So
Or
it's more on the prostitution side.
She's just doing her OnlyFans because that's what works on OnlyFans, but that's not what this is.
I would much rather a candid shot or professional, or something shows you in your job, or something that shows you hiking, or something that shows you in the gym, or something active like that.
Right.
Yeah, you too, huh?
Right. Yeah, we all know that a good relationship involves intimacy. Of course, we could talk all about the platonics. That's a slightly different topic, but we all know that. So thank you for recognizing that that's going to be an important part, but I want to know more about you than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's one that's just for me personally that probably doesn't apply. I don't like the ass pictures.
Yeah.
Where she's sticking her butt near the camera and turning around. I like a cute little bottom, but I don't really want to see that in a picture.
Yeah.
So I think that applies more to the overtly sexual.
No, I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah. Here's another one that I personally am kind of turned off by. Don't take a picture with an expensive car as one of your profile pictures. We get it. This is a sugar style relationship. You would like to find a rich man. But for me, it feels like the wrong message when she found a Ferrari and took a picture with it. It's just, you're broadcasting, hey, I want money, which is fine. I'm broadcasting, hey, I want sex, but I don't put that in my profile either.
There you go.
Right? So,
Yeah. Okay.
So for me, no pictures with expensive cars to say, hey, look, I'm glamorous. I don't want that. Things in the profile that tend to look like fakes or problematic. I know my worth. That's one of the big things.
Yeah,
Don't
we've
waste
talked
my
about that
time.
one
We've
before,
talked about
yeah.
that one. Can you keep up and impress me? I think that was one of the ones we talked about a long time ago. Don't put in your profile that you have expensive tastes. Don't be really proud of your elaborate nails. It's great that you like to spend money, but that's not the message you want to send first, in my opinion. And those are some of the things that I see and just go, well, she's either a fake or way too problematic. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, I saw in a Reddit forum today, actually. I didn't read the whole article, but the headline was, she drove up in a very expensive car. When a sugar baby drives up in a car that's worth as much as my house, I get a little worried that she is going to be problematic and way more than what I want to spend or my budget is. One of our guests, she had this Lincoln, I guess, that a sugar daddy bought her. And, I look up the MSRP on that thing, and it's over $100,000.
Wow.
And I'm just like, how are you affording this? But anyway.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen them in very, very nice cars. I'm thinking, boy, it's a good life here, which is fine. I get it. Everybody likes to drive a nice car, but it's a little intimidating for a sugar daddy when you drive up in a car that's very, very nice.
Yeah.
So maybe just don't let him see it.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your car, that's your car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Not in the beginning.
We generally don't want to feel like you're going to try to milk us for all the cash.
Yeah, because I'm sitting there thinking, oh, damn, what is it going to take to afford this one?
Yeah.
She's got...
A billionaire can afford to do that,
Yeah,
but I'm not a
but you're
billionaire.
average guy.
Yeah, most of us, even in the sugar world, I would assume the range of men in the sugar world is somewhere near the upper end of wealth and income anyway. Mm-hmm. But even within our range, most of us are somewhere in the average of that, not way up at the north end.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
So I suppose once you've actually gotten our attention, so you haven't looked like a fake, and now we're chatting a little bit online. Now here's how not to look like a scammer. Here comes some advice just for sugar daddies, and this is my personal opinion. You can do it however you want to, of course. But girls, sugar babies, I always ask for a phone call. It doesn't have to be a video call, though that's a common thing today as well. But early on, if I think this is going somewhere, I'm going to ask for a phone call. And I've had a few sugar babies who say, oh, I just don't like talking on the phone. Well, then I will leave it up to you to suggest how I can know that you're real and local, because that means I'm going to be kind of limited in how much I invest into this conversation if I don't have any way to know that you're real. So my best advice to sugar daddies, I've been able to filter out a good number of girls, I'm putting in air quotes, because they just can't be bothered to even talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, do you do anything like that? Do you require a video call or a phone
I don't require it, and I've been hesitant to do it, but I've had some girls who insist on it. I'm like, okay. And then we've had really good conversations, and I'm like glad that I did it because now I kind of know what I'm getting into. And then I've had some conversations go so badly, and I went ahead and met them despite the conversation going badly, and it was as bad in person as it was on the phone. So I wanted to test the theory. Could it be better in person? Now, I've had phone conversations that went fantastically, and then when I met them in person, I wasn't into that person.
Right.
And Lily, the same thing. She's like, yeah, I FaceTimed a guy, and he was fine, but then when he showed up, he was much bigger, much heavier, and as dry a personality as you could ever find. And she goes, I had a horrible time on the date. But she actually did FaceTime him first, and it was okay. But
it's certainly not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but I'll tell you what.
Isn't willing to talk to you in real time is probably not worth a whole lot more of your attention.
Yeah. But I'm starting to do it more than not. Because I'm just tired of wasting my time.
Well, that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
Sugar daddies listening.
I don't have a lot of time now. In the past, I'm like, let's roll the dice, baby. Let's see what we got.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I think a phone call is a great way. If she's not willing to give you 10 minutes of time, then why would she give you an hour for a meet and greet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I tend to do that long before a meet and greet. Other ways not to look like a scammer, and these are all very quick. I bet I can just go right through them. Don't ask for money before meeting. That's just a thing. Don't ask for money to get to the meet and greet. I understand you're probably kind of poor, but if you literally have no mechanism to make it 6 miles down the road to Tempe Marketplace,
Now, I don't mind if they ask me to get them a car.
Yeah, I'm
I
happy
actually
to send
prefer that because now I can kind of control the situation where I can see, okay, they got in the car, they're on their way, they'll be here in 6 minutes or whatever.
I
like
point.
that.
I do too, and I've never quite put that together.
And it's really cheap to do that.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
an excellent
18,
point.
20, $25, it's very, very cheap to do that.
Excellent point. A lot of times we'll see someone is out there giving advice. And if you happen to be a somewhat new sugar baby looking to get into this lifestyle, here's the advice you should not accept. Someone is telling them that sugar daddies should send money early to prove that they're real.
Nope.
And I want to be a little sensitive. I recognize that it's possible that she has tried to meet with a sugar daddy before who stood her up. And that's going to be frustrating. She spends a lot of time getting pretty to make her best first impression and goes somewhere and then he never shows. I absolutely get that.
Yep.
But sending you cash is not going to prove any kind of realness on my part. So just don't ask. It makes you look bad. And then, of course, the picture sellers. I don't want to join your OnlyFans and I don't want to buy your pictures. So the frustrating thing for me about Seeking over the last, year and a half, it seems to have just exploded. That almost is the only kind of profiles that are on the site. They're doing apparently nothing to get rid of picture scammers, platonic only, and fakes and flakes.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating to me.
Well, like I've always said, you got to dig through a lot of bullshit to find the diamonds in the rough there. And they are there, but this is just a good example of what we're dealing with on a daily basis on trying to find those diamonds. I've met high quality women over and over and over. And, the women have met high quality men over and over. But this is exactly what we got to filter through. And if you can get better at filtering through it, it makes the process easier. So it's just a matter, I have a guy on Instagram who he's gotten scammed a couple times, not for large amounts, but he goes, I think I just got scammed. He's a little naive because the way he's getting scammed, I'm like, did you really do that, dude? But it hasn't been for large amounts, thank goodness, like a couple $100. But he keeps falling for it. He goes, I think I'm just the target of scammers. I'm like, well, I just don't think you have enough experience because you're falling for this. And maybe these are the lessons you need to harden up a little bit and recognize
We've
these.
talked about some of the lessons I've learned.
Yeah,
so
we've all. If you haven't got scammed, you have not sugar dated long enough.
Right.
Because even the best, I like to feel like I'm pretty savvy, but I'll tell you what, they've gotten me a couple times.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it just happens.
Yeah.
So in case potential sugar babies are listening and you don't know what it's like from the men's side, I want to talk just a little bit about the kinds of problems that we face. You've heard a little bit about it and ways to avoid that. So my next section is how not to look like a flake.
Okay.
And the first item here is a little bit separate from that. But in trying to be attractive to a woman that you want to try to meet, we walk a very razor thin edge often. And I'm curious how much this has happened to you, Marcus. About half of the girls that I chat with think that I move too fast. I try to get to text. I try to get off the site as quickly as possible, or I try to talk about something a little bit more personal than just, hey, what do you do? Those kind of things. But the other 50% want to go even faster.
Yeah.
If on your very first message you haven't mentioned allowance and what and when and where, I don't even bother responding. So wherever you fall on that spectrum of whether you would like to be chatted with on the site for a while or not, just understand that there's at least as many who will reject us for doing what you like as there are who will reject us for not doing what you like. So maybe give us a little bit of slack.
Well, I was just talking to a girl. She messaged me first. Her pictures are amazing, but she hides her face in every one of them. And she says, hey, I love talking. I was like, here's my number. I can speak more freely offline. I'll be happy to share photos. And then, we can talk gift or whatever. And then she says, this is a texting app and I only use my real number. And I'm like, well, you're not very smart, are you?
Yeah, don't do that.
I said, look, as you value discretion, I also value discretion too. My personal number is actually tied to my real estate company, and I only give that to very few people once I meet them. This Google Voice is a nice number. It's secondary. It's not a texting app. It's an actual phone number. But she absolutely refuses. And she goes, well, then we'll just talk here. So she started talking allowance and numbers. I'm like, whoa. I am not going to talk
I can't afford to get
anything online on this because I don't know what the censors are up to. And I've had friends who've been banned for less than this.
Right.
It took me long enough to get my account back.
Yeah.
So I am not going to discuss anything. And she absolutely refuses to take it offline since I won't give her my real number. But then she hides her face for discretion reasons. Absolutely. I'm like, well, if you're that stupid, then we have nothing in common. But boy, she had a nice set of breasts, though.
Well,
in her photos.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I love it.
But anyway, that's her loss.
Yeah. Well,
If you're going to be that stupid.
That
and
would
I
be-
told her, too, you should not be using your real
right.
number.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's real, please don't.
Yeah. You
Agreed.
should not be using your real number.
Agreed. It's too easy to get a burner number. Just use
Very
that.
easy.
Yeah.
Google
yeah.
Voice is a great source. It's not the best, but it's a great source for have a secondary number. I mean, we've had stories. People have showed up at houses. A guy walked into Amy's house, into her bedroom while she was sleeping. It's just too easy for people to get your name and address and your birthday and email and your parents' name and your relatives. It's just too easy now with your real number.
Protect yourself a little.
Yeah, you got to protect yourself.
Absolutely agreed. But yeah, I think that would be my advice to sugar babies is, we walk a minefield too, provide a little bit of slack and understand that as with all of life, you give a little and then you expect them to give a little. And that gives you the confidence to give a little more so that they can give a little more. It's great that you have your standards and it's great that you know how to protect yourself online. But if you're not willing to move at all, then by definition, we shouldn't move either. So find that balance. Then just a couple other things that you had mentioned. Don't go radio silent on us.
Yeah.
And again, my criteria is, 18, 24 hours, somewhere along the way. I know you've picked up your phone and you had 30 seconds. Come on. That's a good way to look like a flake. Don't go radio silent just because you're bored. And my thought there is this. There is an entire pickup artist industry out there we all know about that is specifically geared toward having tight text game. That's really important if you're on Tinder, where you're just looking for a hookup and you need to know how to push all her buttons fast because that's what matters. Understand that most of us are in the sugar industry, the sugar world, because we want to avoid all that. I don't want to become a pickup artist. I want to be me, and I want to be a good guy who's not just out looking to score. And sugar provides me that in, like you've described a number of times. That's how I can get in the door. So if you then on the site require me to be as good as the guys on Tinder, well, you're ruling out probably most of the sugar daddies. We're on the site. We're offering this lifestyle so that we don't have to become a pickup artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't go radio silent just because you're busy. I understand being busy, but, again, there is some point where you picked up your phone and you scrolled past my message. And even if you're just on the site, I understand you probably get 30 or 80 messages a day. But if I'm important enough to you to talk at all, I should be important enough to you to go looking for my messages first and not just be like, well, I didn't have time. That's a good way to look like you aren't willing to participate well in a relationship. So, if you don't want to look like a flake, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then the final one we've talked a little bit before is show up on time.
Oh, gosh. So another funny story. Months ago, matter of fact, I think it was last year, I met a girl and she was 45 minutes late. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't account for traffic. Well, I have the traffic on my phone. I looked. I knew exactly where she was coming from. There was no traffic. She was just a big mismanagement of time, right?
Yep.
So anyway, it didn't go anywhere. And then Alejandra and I ended up becoming exclusive for a short time right after. So I just let that one die. I saw her on Bumble and I swiped right. We matched. I gave her my number and she goes, yeah, we've connected before. And I couldn't remember because her pictures were amazing. Really cute. I typed in her name in my Google search and it came right up. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we have connected before. You were 45 minutes late to our meet and greet. And she's like, oh, I can't believe you remember that. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I sat there. I can't even believe I sat there that long because normally I would have been gone. I may see her again, but definitely that one remembered me and it did not fare well for her being that late.
Yeah.
I get sometimes things come up, but
Right. Well, and if you're communicating with me all along the way that I know you're still interested, that helps a little.
Yeah.
But, don't tell me you can be there in 30 minutes when what you really mean is you might step out of the shower in 30 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
give me a decent estimate. you've gotten our attention by looking like a decent profile. We've communicated a little while, so we look like you're actually real and probably interested in this. Now, how do you not look like a scammer? So we talked about a phone call, money, meet and greet. Don't try to sell us pictures, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Right. So then the last topic that I have, just very briefly, if you've got the time, how not to look like a money sink.
Okay.
And we've all seen plenty of those, right? In other words, I also call this also known as how to live a better life with or without a sugar daddy. So, number one is plan ahead. We've talked about this before. Don't only hit up your sugar daddy on the 2nd of every month because rent is late, right?
Very common.
Show us, it's very common, but yeah, show us that you are aware of a calendar. You know your rent is going to be due in a week. So start looking forward to that and taking care of things. Don't bring me problems that can only be solved by a Cash App today.
Yeah.
I understand life happens, but generally speaking, completely unexpected expenses don't usually drop in your lap. And if I start to feel like the only way you will let me help you is with money right now, that feels pretty bad. So,
Agreed.
yep. Don't ask for an advance on your allowance, at least not too early in the relationship, without offering some kind of an advance of your own first. Like we had just talked about, you can move a little and then the other person moves a little. This is how it all works. Yeah, some of the scams that I have fallen for is a girl that I really liked. And we'd seen each other 6 or 8 times, but she asked for an advance and I gave her one and then disappeared.
Yep.
I'm like, oh,
Been there.
why? Why would you? Yeah. So, yeah, if you need an advance, we certainly understand. But, an excellent thing that no one has ever offered me is, I can see coming that my tuition is going to be due. Could I come over for a date just to show you that I really do have the best of intentions? Don't give me any allowance this time. I just want to be together and show you how much that I'm real because I know I'm about to ask you for 3 allowances at the end of the month. No one ever does that.
No.
I assume you've never had that either.
No.
Yeah. That, in my opinion, and that's my question I would have for you, if you had a girl do that, would you be more or less interested in her?
Oh, absolutely. 100% more interested. That shows me a lot of integrity and thoughtfulness. And she opens up the window, the door, basically. She opens up the vault because now I'm much more willing to help her out with any of the issues that she has. She's meeting me halfway or even going past halfway, which I really, really appreciate. It's not all one-sided.
Right. And to some extent, a date with me takes a little bit of energy, a little bit of time. But let's be honest, when you're 26, you probably have lots of time. What you don't have is money. What I have is money and not a lot of time. Let's make those two things work. So if what you do is you give me a couple hours of time that you would have done some other thing with, I agree with you. I think that would go a really long way.
Well, very good. Excellent, as always, Sugar Daddy Dwayne.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in on short notice. We're looking forward to having Lily back next week, but we didn't even need her this week. We had plenty to talk about.
Who needs Lily?
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. Send me a message. We'd love to either read those or have you on air, or we can do it through Zoom. Doesn't have to be in person. And then, of course, join our family at Patreon. And I'll put a link to it at the bottom of this episode, and it's on our website. Love to have you part of our family. We get a lot of good community group chat sessions. People ask questions. They introduce themselves. We're making matches. It's a lot of fun, and it's growing. That's the beautiful thing. So more and more people are on there every day, and we want to have you on there if you're not. And then finally, always like a follower on Instagram. We're posting lots of funny memes there. Oh, and I guess not finally. I got a commission check today from OMG. Yes, I almost forget about it, but we are an affiliate of those, and it's a program I recommend highly, men and women. If you want to know the techniques on how to pleasure a woman properly, I could not recommend this program more. It is well done, very professional, step-by-step procedures, all kinds of different things. Alejandra loves it. I know Lily loves it. Trucker has taken the course. I've taken the course, and you can go over it many, many times. They've got instructional videos, and they're a lot of fun. So we have a link to it on our website. Click there. That way we'll get credit for it. OMG, yes, on how to pleasure a woman properly. All right, Sugar Daddy Dwayne, have a good trip to Las Vegas.
I appreciate it.
And we're
Thank
going
you.
to talk to you soon.
I love it. This is so much fun. Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.